Okay, I think that it's probably a good time for us to go ahead and get moving. So welcome. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. First, I want to tell you a little bit about why you're here, what you're going to be able to learn about today, and then we'll do some introductions, and then we'll just dive right in. What we'd love to tell you about is the biggest, sort of most common problems faced by data science teams in the areas of infrastructure, and talk about how Saturn and AWS are working together to provide resources and tools that make your teams able to be more productive and more efficient, and to avoid the grunt work and the sort of chores of maybe the DevOps area that are not what you're in this to do. We're going to outline some of the sort of critical problems and talk a little bit about the challenges that are faced by data science teams. And then we'll discuss the solutions that our companies offer together and the complementary solutions that we have available. We'll give you a little product tour of Saturn Cloud and show you exactly how all of that works. And then we'll take some Q&A time at the end, time permitting, of course. So to introduce ourselves first. I'm Stephanie Kirmer, and I'm a senior data scientist here at Saturn Cloud. I work on building solutions for our customers to help them do machine learning and data science efficiently, painlessly, easy, using the Saturn Cloud platform. I also have data science experience in a whole variety of industries. I've been in this field for a little while. I worked in higher education, heavy industry, travel, hospitality, public policy. And so I've experienced these problems that we're going to talk about. I'm going to be giving you, occasional anecdotes from my own experiences so that we can help you to really find solutions to these problems. It helps to know that we've been there and that we've seen this ourselves and that we've thought about it. And so let me turn it over to my colleague from AWS to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Chintan Sangvi, and I'm a partner solution architect. I work very closely with partners like Saturn Cloud and help them in using AWS services, help them in innovating using AWS services. And before joining AWS, I was working in investment bank, and I was working as a data architect for that. Yeah, so this is the very high level experience about me. And now in AWS, I focus on ISVs and primarily into a machine learning and financial services market. So all the startups working in this particular area on AWS, I help them in innovating and building the software solution much better using AWS services.
So. Yeah, and that's really, I think one of the great things about the partnership that we're able to bring to this is that we have data science, data engineering experience brought to bear to solve the pain points that we experienced ourselves and that we have seen data science teams and data teams broadly challenged with. So let's dive right in and talk a little bit about what these problems are. So let's step back. Data science is amazing, right? Data science in a vacuum can do so much, and it provides such incredible opportunities and value for businesses and organizations, but we don't work in a vacuum. We don't do our data science practice in a vacuum space. We are either limited or enabled by infrastructure systems around us, hardware, software, storage, security, all kinds of things. And all of these things are really necessary, working smoothly for us to be as successful as possible with the practice of data science and machine learning. But when they're not working well, or when they're causing, sort of limitations, they can really drag down possibility that data science can offer to business. No data science working environment is perfect. We've all got things we would like to change about the way that we work. And so we're here suspecting that you've experienced one or more, or maybe even all of the problems that we're going to describe here. So we want to show you, we understand these problems in particular and really give you targeted solutions from Saturn and AWS to help you get out of the drudgery and really make your data science productivity boom. So let's talk about the first challenge. If you've ever heard one member of a team speaking to another member of a team say, oh, but it works on my machine, you've probably experienced this problem. If everyone is working in isolation on their own working environment, in their own sort of unique space, that collaboration opportunities can be restrictive. If one person finds a bug, for example, and their peers can't replicate it, so they can't solve it. So then that bug becomes a much bigger problem because the recreating the environment that it exists in is a bigger challenge than maybe just debugging it would have been. You can also find cases where someone is working on a project and they need help. They need, sort of brainstorming ideas, help with code review or something like that. But setting up the context of the project for someone else's workstation is just so difficult that maybe they don't get the help that they need. And then that project doesn't become what it could be. So to make your data science workflows really succeed, you need reproducible, consistent, and easily shareable environments. You need to be able to communicate, give feedback, review code together, and that kind of thing. So when teams can't do this, I think that this is a real blocker at the very outset of data science, like productivity and projects. So our second problem is maybe more visible to leadership a lot of times. If you're buying and running all of your own compute hardware, you're spending a ton of money and time on that. Oh, sorry. And so what you're gonna run into is that if you're all running it all on-prem, you're still gonna have not enough or not the right kind of compute resources when you need it in a lot of cases. Machine learning, we call it Bursty. It's sort of a term in the field. You need a lot of compute for a short period of time, running a big model, a big grid search or something like that. But then you don't need it again for a little while probably. But if you're doing things on-prem and you're buying all of the hardware yourself, you're gonna need a whole lot of compute and then you won't have it when you need it right then. But then once you've purchased all of that hardware, you're going to have it sitting unused and still paying for it and still managing it for long periods of time. And that costs you money. So that's our second problem to solve. So I don't want this third problem to come across as in any way slighting our colleagues in the security space. They are doing a vital and difficult job managing the security of code and data and workspaces. However, often in smaller organizations, the security responsibility is sort of a big resource overhead. It takes up a lot of people's time. And there's always that fear that you haven't thought of a vulnerability or a gap or a hole in your defenses. Somebody is probably staying awake at night worrying about whether there's a gap that's been missed. So, and then sometimes the reaction can be a little too far in the other direction, where because of underlying fear, uncertainty about the security, we apply really heavy restrictions on how data scientists can work and what can be allowed and how the actual machine learning task can be done. And this could reduce productivity unnecessarily. This could be reducing potential value because we're just not really sure what a vulnerability really is, or where we're not confident in our security postures. So failure is not an option though in security, right? And this is existential to the life of the business, that data and code and tools be kept secure. So we're extra careful, but maybe at the expense of efficiency. So many of you listening will have experienced this. Getting the data is sometimes the biggest pain in the neck for data scientists, and we don't talk about it as much as I think we should. You've got the hardware, you've got the software, you've got the talent, you've got the security, you've built out all of this amazing stuff, all of this infrastructure, but you get down to business and you realize, oh, the data is stored over there and our working is happening over here. How do we get those combined? How do we get the data where we need it to be in order for the machine learning tasks, the data science projects to actually be done? So managing complex data pipelines is sort of the way that a lot of this gets answered, and that's really hard. Data engineers are so important and so valuable because they're the people who really organize that kind of stuff. But if you can't afford a full-size data engineering team, there's a good chance you're probably patching this together yourselves. You're moving files around in ways that maybe don't meet your security posture. And your data scientists could be struggling with, slowness and tedium in getting the data where it needs to be so that the models can be built. So our final problem, it's when you get all the way to the completion of the data science project that this starts to show up, right? Your machine learning model is done, it's great, it produces really excellent results, and you're ready to send it out into the world and make a difference to business. You want to take those results and put them in front of the users of that information, your organization's leadership, your decision makers. But how do you get it out to those people? Those are the people who are no longer on the data science team, but in the executive levels of your business. You might end up using static dashboards, screenshots, copy and pasting numbers into slides. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this at various organizations. These are just techniques that really create opportunities for errors, misunderstanding, outdated information, inaccurate conclusions. It's just a stress all over. I don't know if you've been in this experience, but you stay up into the late hours, early hours even, checking and rechecking somebody's copy and pasted numbers in a slide deck because it's really important. Say it's a board meeting or something like that. But the process could have been reproducible the first time. And you don't want to be in that position where you're checking and rechecking things that are patched together out of random scripts or from God knows where. So getting to the finish line, to production, to dynamic dashboards, to actual production of models that is running in real time, this is not a luxury tool. This is like required for the real difference to the business and like staff retention, because people get really frustrated with these kind of situations. So those are the problems that we want to talk about today. We have illustrated your nightmares. We have given you cold sweats. And I'm sorry about that to some degree, but I know that we have solutions that you'll be able to take back and find ways to really make a big difference in the running of your business and solve these problems. As we mentioned earlier, we've both thought about these problems a lot. Saturn Cloud is really built around thinking about the problems data science teams face and how we can really make a big difference there. So now let's talk a little bit about those solutions. So first, I'm going to give you the overhead view of the Saturn Cloud ecosystem. Now, don't worry about memorizing this or looking super closely. We're going to discuss these elements one at a time and talk about how they work and what they offer to you. But what I really want you to take away from this is we have a fully developed product space that gives you the tools you need and flexibility to build the data science workflows that you need and get results delivered all the way to the last mile. Starting from the left, we give you access to your data when you need it. We work with data sources of all sorts and types. We offer infrastructure and compute resources that are right for you, but flexible in the moment. And then we give you the deployment, the endpoints, the dashboards, and production frameworks so that you can get all the information to decision makers. And then we wrap that all up in enterprise quality security that you can trust and not have to, toss and turn an item out. So all these tools are built on an amazing, industry-leading resources AWS has to offer. And so I'm going to turn over for a few minutes to Chintan to tell you a little bit about what he's bringing and what AWS brings to this whole partnership.
Thanks, Stephanie. So the organizations around the world are moving to the cloud-based infrastructure. Now, by moving to the cloud, they can reduce the overall cost associated with the solution. They can also increase the scalability, performance, and the reliability of the solution. Right? Now, when they move to the cloud-based infrastructure, now they can focus more on innovating their solution, innovating more about their solution, and then they did not have to focus on any infrastructure management or anything related to infrastructure. Now, when deciding which cloud provider to select, most of the companies decide this based on the number of services provided by the cloud provider or the kind of services provided by the cloud provider, as well as the overall the maturity of the infrastructure and the platform of the cloud provider. Now, AWS provides infrastructure into 80 availability zones. So you can create your workload, you can deploy your application into multiple availability zones, which will make your application and solution very scalable and highly available, so that even if one availability zone goes down, you will have another availability zone which will keep your application running and your customers are not impacted. Now, these all availability zones are available in 24 and 25 different geographical regions, right? So you can literally have one availability zone or one deployment into, say, EMEA, another deployment in, say, US, and third one maybe in somewhere in APAC. So this will make your entire solution, entire application very broad, very highly available and accessible throughout the world. Now, AWS also provides 175 plus different kind of services. Now, these are the services provided by AWS to meet your requirement, right? And you can build your solutions using these services to innovate faster. So your overall time to market to deploy a particular solution to make something available on AWS is very fast. I'll be using these kind of services. Now, in addition to this, we also have 8,000 plus marketplace listings. Now, these are the listings available by a software provider like Saturn Cloud, which will help you to meet your business requirements very fast. Using this, you can meet a certain goal, certain requirements as soon as possible. Now, this is the overall maturity and the number of services provided by AWS, which will help customer to meet their business requirements goals very early in the stage. Right? Now, Stephanie, if you can go to next step. Yeah. Now, specifically on the cloud computing and the compute related services, AWS has a multiple different kind of services. So you can have a workload which is, say, compute intensive. And that scenario, you can use the compute related resources which are more into the compute intensive workload. Right? You can also choose a compute environment which is memory intensive. So you can create machines, you can create clusters which are more into memory related services. Right? Now, there may be a requirement where you need, say, higher network output or higher bandwidth, or you may need a specific type of the GPUs and specific type of CPUs. So you can use different kind of this combination of services, combination of this offering, and you can have like 300 plus different type of compute environment, and this will be able to meet any of your business requirements and any of type of the workload that you need. Now, you can use all these services and the compute related resources along with, say, cloud formation template, and you can create an environment which is similar in production, UAT, and the development environment. So using this, you can kill or you can remove any ambiguity related to, say, something is available in development or something is available in production, but then not available in, say, UAT environment. Using this, you can create same environment, similar environment into your development, into your UAT, into your production environment. So any ambiguity related to something works on my machine and doesn't work in production is going to be removed using these different kind of services. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so you can see that having the backing and the partnership with AWS really allows the expansion of resources and opportunities to solve problems for teams. But let's go back to the problems that we were talking about earlier. Remember back to question of having data when you need it, where you need it, and discovering data engineering struggles ahead when you just really want to get your models done, get your job done, and move on. We totally get this. Saturn Cloud is really committed to making it easy to access your data in whatever data storage solution you have. So getting from your data to the workspace you want doesn't have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be a pain. We test out and build out infrastructure to make connections work smoothly between data sources and data storage solutions that people choose and our product. So we have obviously a partnership with AWS where tons of customers choose to use data storage. We also have a partnership with Snowflake, which is a popular data storage solution. And so we really want to give the attention to customers' needs and to make sure that whatever data storage you happen to be in, we can help you get connected into the Saturn Cloud workspace. And of course, a lot of our customers and users choose AWS for their data storage. One of the things to keep in mind here, and we'll talk about again in security space, is that if you're using our enterprise product, your data can stay in the AWS environment and not leave that security space, so that when you're doing data science with Saturn Cloud, data that you stored with AWS stays stored with AWS. So that's one of the many sort of ways that we've really made an intentional effort to make the data access smooth and easy as possible for customers. So yeah, so Chintan, let's talk a little bit about the data storage solutions AWS actually does offer to our customers.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So when you're doing your entire project regarding, say, data science, there may be a requirement where you might need a data from, say, databases, or there may be a requirement where your data is present into a specific type of the format. So sometimes it is relational, sometimes into, say, key value pair. There can be a scenario where your data is stored into files, right? Or you may need data from a different altogether third-party vendors, right? So these are the different ways by which you can get the data. Now, data AWS provides a different services. So we have services available in, say, database space. We have services in storage space. So on the database, there are services like RDS, where you can store your data into relational data format. There is a service called DynamoDB, which will help you to store data into key value pair, right? And if you have any large data, petabyte storage data, I mean, you can load this data into a Redshift kind of environment, which will give you a good scalability in terms of storing petabyte of data. Now, this is more on the database side. It is also possible that you have a data into, say, files, right? And for that, you can use, say, S3 bucket to store a files related services or files related data, or you can use, say, EBS and EFS to store data into a specific file system. Now, in a data science, we have seen that there are certain requirements where people need a low latency file access solution, right? And that's where you can also use, say, FSX services or FSX file system, which is used by many machine learning and analytics related companies to access the data from a file system in a really very sub-millisecond kind of response time. Now, these are the kind of services provided by AWS where you can store the data. Now, the data can be present in the cloud, or it can also be present on premise as well. So if it is present on premise, it is not available on the cloud environment, then you will need some sort of migration services, right? Which will allow you to migrate data from, say, on-premise environment or some other environment to the cloud. And that's where various migration services comes into picture, where you can use, say, database migration services to migrate data into your database. You can also use, say, storage migration services to migrate data from your on-premise environment to the cloud-based infrastructure. Now, specifically on the third-party data vendors, I mean, you can have a data vendor like say Reuters or Bloomberg, right? They provide a lot of financial services related data. You can also have a requirement for maybe some ESG related data. And for this kind of services or this kind of data, AWS provides a service called AWS Data Exchange. And using these services, you can subscribe to a particular type of the data, and you can retrieve this data into your own VPC in your environment. And using this, and Saturn Cloud can connect to any of these services and can retrieve and can help you to meet your data related requirements. So using these services, you will not have any issue in terms of the availability of the data. So using these, you will be able to get data one or other way into your own AWS environment.
Awesome. And so once you've got the data stored, especially if you're using AWS data storage, then getting the ability to work with that data in machine learning and data science capacity in Saturn Cloud is basically seamless. And we really pride ourselves on making that process easy and convenient for customers. Next thing I want to just discuss is we've already talked about how security is really existential for business. Data breaches, security failures are just not an option for our customers, and we take this extremely seriously. Using our platform, your code is protected. It's shareable within your teams, within your organizations, your specifications, and it's customizable to your needs. We're SOC 2 certified. We're happy to discuss those procedures with you for your peace of mind. We have a whole page on our website discussing the security stances and processes that we go through. But furthermore, because we're in the AWS marketplace, once again, your data is covered by the stringent security processes that AWS offers. And so we're able to sort of combine those things to give you confidence and peace of mind in the security of both your code and your data. So Chintan, can you tell us a little bit about security in the AWS environment?
Sure. Right. So AWS has a very large ecosystem of security related services. And in addition to that, we also have a lot of partner solutions for the security. Now, starting from very basic of the security, like how to create a user or how to create a privileges or how to assign privileges to a particular user or role. AWS has a service called IAM, so Identity and Access Management Services, where you can create privileges, you can create users at a very granular level. So you can create a privilege like somebody is allowed to access a particular type of the folder, right? Or somebody is allowed to to say start the servers or instantiate the server, but then cannot terminate the servers. You can create this kind of securities and this kind of privileges. So in addition to these basic services like identity and access management, AWS also provides detection services. So there may be a requirement where you might have to find out, I mean, who is doing what, right? Or if there are any issues in terms of security, you need an alert saying something is going wrong in your environment. And that's where many services like, say, Amazon Guard Duty or CloudWatch or Amazon Inspector comes into picture, where these services can help you to detect any security related issues in your environment. Now, AWS has another service called Security Hub. Now, this Security Hub can help you to get a comprehensive view on all the security related aspects in your account. I mean, not only in your account, but then if you have, say, multiple accounts, you can have a view on all of these into one particular way or one particular dashboard. Now, using this, you can meet your any security related issues very fast. You can meet your compliance related requirements very fast, because you have one holistic view as well as a corresponding mitigation action items. Now, from the data protection perspective, AWS provides many data protection services like, say, server-side encryption. You might need encryption on your data where only certain type of the services will be able to access it. You can use services like, say, server-side encryption. You can also use a key management services to encrypt and protect your data. And lastly, I mean, from infrastructure perspective, AWS provides services like, say, firewall managers, right, and private link, right? So where you can create connections between two different VPCs in a specific and very secure way. So AWS provides many security related services, and it has a very high standard in terms of securing your infrastructure. And using this, you do not have to worry about how to handle security and whether I'll be able to meet certain compliance related requirements or certain regulatory related requirements or not. I mean, this kind of things can be easily available using AWS services.
And especially for small organizations where there isn't a ton of staff available to manage all the security stuff, it's such a load off your mind to be able to rely on a larger, more sort of sophisticated security structure. And I think for our customers, it's really, it's very comforting to know. So let's move on to what I was talking about previously. I call it sort of the catch-22 of hardware. As we've discussed, for many organizations, buying your own machines for compute resources is both super expensive and probably won't meet all of the needs that you have at any given time. This leads to sort of one of the most stellar advantages, I think, of Saturn Cloud. We give you access to, at a click, to a huge range of machine sizes in EC2 instances, from boxes that are, super small, single CPU, all the way up to 8 GPU machines. And we offer the additional scale-up option of DAS clusters. So you can combine these machines into incredibly powerful clusters that meet your specifications and are available at a moment's notice just when you need them. And we know that you don't need that huge cluster all the time. You might need it for a few minutes or a few hours. So when you don't need it, you just shut it down and your budget is saved, because our pricing model is on a per use basis. So when you're not using it, you're not paying for it. Instead of ever increasing compute bills and hardware bills, you can just actually control your spending and spend the right amount for the usage that you need, with transparency and just-in-time access. And I'll show you a little bit about how that transparency works when we go through the product tour a little later. And you might be facing this and think, I don't know what kind of compute I need. I don't know how many machines I need. I've never used Dask before, and it's okay. You don't need to be an expert in any of that coming into Saturn Cloud, because we have a whole team of data scientists as well as tons of available resources to help you take that step forward and use the compute resources that are available to get you to productivity fast. To give you a little example and make this a little easier to see, I'm showing you here a screenshot, and you'll see a little bit more of this later, of the resource selection space in a Saturn Cloud project. So all you do is click this drop down, choose CPU, T4 GPU or V100 GPU, and then choose the size of machine that you need, and it's there. This is how easy it is to select a different size of machine. And when you select one, you might find it's, for some reason, not quite right for your project. Shut it down, select a new one just as fast. So we give you flexibility to change your mind and to get just the right resources that you actually are looking for. And this is a huge business advantage because we know machine learning needs these resources at different times in different amounts. And thanks to the ability to make these AWS EC2 instances available, we are able to pass on that flexibility to you. And there's other kinds of real specific advantages to EC2 and compute resources from AWS. So Chintan, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, AWS provides the services like auto-scaling. Right? So using these services, you can scale your environment depending on your requirement. Right? So if you don't need resources, AWS auto-scaling will ensure that these resources are not created. Right? So depending on the type of the workload, depending on how your workload is increasing, it will increase the number of resources available for your compute environment. And you can add multiple different types of the price plan also into this auto scaling. So you can mix an instances like say reserved instances, or you can also add instances like a spot instances, right? And you can combine these different types of the price plan into your auto scaling environment, auto scaling configuration. Now, using this will decrease the overall cost associated with entire compute environment. And this all can be part of your same cloud formation template, and you can add auto scaling in it. And you can also add multiple different types of the instances as well. So you might need say GPU-based instances, or you can add a compute-related instances, and or maybe a general purpose instances into auto scaling. And all these will help you to reduce the overall cost. It will help you to optimize your overall spend on AWS.
Awesome. Yeah. And one of the I think that spot instances are a really cool feature that we don't talk about them as much as we should, but I think that being able to use these drastically discounted resources in that bursty way is a huge opportunity for machine learning in particular. Is the machine learning workflow and sort of the work style really lends itself well to that. So that's something that we're really excited that we can offer to all of our customers. You can choose spot instances for your compute on Saturn Cloud. So let's get, so GPUs are glamorous, big compute clusters, it's very exciting. However, there are other things that are less glamorous that are really important to your compute, because let's go back to talking about consistent environments and images. So when your team doesn't have smoothly organized, consistent development environments, it makes for huge snags, problems, and headaches. We think that having the workspace in Saturn Cloud set up with data science users in mind makes a huge difference for our customers' experience and the productivity options. Having robust image support in fully featured working environments is a big part of it. So we offer Jupyter Lab, obviously a known trusted cloud working environment for our customers, but we also flexibly let you run Saturn resources, including DAS clusters, including GPUs from your local IDE if you prefer. Our documentation is full of examples of exactly how you can do that in your own workspace. From you want to use PyCharm, you want to use VS Code, you can do all of that just as easily as using Jupyter Lab in our cloud platform. So we don't tie you down to a specific way of working. We want you to be able to be productive. And so we're going to meet you where you are so that you can get the job done as efficiently as possible. We also give you tools to manage images. So for your team to all be working in the same sort of development environment, it can be a huge advantage to know that your code will always be reproducible, shareable. And so you can share an image or set of images with every member of your team. So everyone will have the correct version of everything, the Python version that they need, the right libraries, the appropriate system settings, so they can all work together super seamlessly. So let's take a look. This is an example of the image storage page in Saturn Cloud's product. Your business's custom images could be here instead of these default Saturn images, which we'll see again in the product tour. You can attach any one of these to a project, get a fully featured workspace built exactly the way you want it. And these are pre-built images, so you're not sitting around waiting for a Docker image to build for however long. So let's move finally to that last mile that I talked about at the beginning. The last mile is often the most taxing and time-consuming and frustrating, because to make all your work worthwhile, you need to get those insights to the rest of the business, to the leadership, to the other members of your organization. So data scientists, in my experience, and this is true of me as well, we want to know our efforts are making a difference, that we're building models, yes, and that's super exciting and fun, but we want to see that that's going to help our colleagues, help our customers, help our leaders to make better decisions, data-driven policy, and that kind of thing. So we make deployments of models and dashboards and things like APIs incredibly easy in Saturn Cloud because we know how important that is. We've intentionally and thoughtfully made our product get all the way to the finish line and not just part of the way. So you can deploy dashboards to production, you can blend models to production, you can do scheduled jobs, one-off jobs, all of this through our platform without having to cobble together extra pieces or get extra software in and out of there. We're also partnered with Prefect, which makes job scheduling super seamless and easy. If any of you out there have used Prefect before, you'll know that it's incredibly user-friendly and smooth to use. And we're really proud to be able to provide that integration as well. So here's what it looks like in Saturn Cloud's product if you want to create a new deployment. In this case, it would be a model or dashboard in this page. So you just choose the right size of resources for your deployment. Say if it's a large model where the inference job needs a lot of resources, then you can choose a larger machine, but otherwise you could just choose a smaller one. And then you'll just spend what you need when it's running. If you need help building a dashboard, getting started with putting a model into production, if that's a thing that your business hasn't done before, hasn't done a lot of, we have lots of resources, technical support that can help. And so I think that this is a really exciting possibility for customers who have perhaps done R&D type of machine learning, but haven't gotten to that production stage yet. Using Saturn Cloud really smooths out a lot of the DevOps challenges to getting to production and getting to full impact in the business. So we've talked about machine learning model service and dashboards and that kind of thing. However, there's also a need to oftentimes view streaming data in a more BI kind of way. Maybe you don't need to apply data science in this case, but while we're not a full feature dashboarding company, AWS has a great targeted solution for providing streaming real-time data analytics for businesses. And so Chintan's going to tell us a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. So AWS has a service called Amazon QuickSet, and this service can provide a very interactive, very nice dashboards. And to start working on that dashboards, you need not have to provision any servers. Right? So this is serverless. You can register to a particular QuickSet application, and then you can start creating dashboards out of it. Right? Now AWS or Amazon QuickSet can connect to different types of the databases and storage environments. You can connect to S3 bucket. You can also connect to, say, RDS database. You can also connect to a general file and create dashboards. Right? In addition to this, it also provides many APIs. So you can easily integrate these QuickSet dashboards with your own applications. And using this, you can create a very nice dashboard application. Then you can stream the data into your dashboards and you can have a real-time dashboards available. Right? Now, this is also pay as you go. So depending on how many number of users you have and how frequently are you using it, you'll be charged according to that. So these are the few services and features provided by AWS, and specifically on the overall dashboarding side, QuickSet is a really good dashboarding application.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's so valuable for businesses to be able to see their data in real time and see the sort of operations of the business in real time. So you're not waiting around for, oh, this doesn't update till tomorrow, or we got to get the screenshot, or somebody checked the numbers in these slides. And so I think this is a super exciting part of the opportunities for customers who work with Saturn Cloud and AWS. So now we've gotten to the end of the solutions to the nightmares that we talked about at the beginning. So I want to give you a quick product tour of Saturn Cloud and show you exactly what it looks like to run through it, work in, and then we'll do some Q&A and take some of your questions, and then we'll wrap up. So let me move us over into the Saturn Cloud product. So what you're seeing on screen right now is the login page for Saturn Cloud. And I'm going to log in with GitHub because I've got an account created with my GitHub. So what you can do is just hit that button and I'm in. Easy as that. No additional steps required because I've already created my GitHub account and I just connected them, and that's that. So what you're looking at now is our main project page. And so a project is sort of in the Saturn Cloud ecosystem is sort of a single, say, modeling task or a single analytics task that you're trying to work on. You can create as many projects as you want, and we have quick start projects that we have created in advance so that you're not starting from scratch every single time. So if you know that you want to do some data science work on GPUs, you might want a Rapids project. Or if you know that you're going to be doing some deep learning work, you might want a PyTorch project. So what I've already got here is one PyTorch project, but say I want to actually create a prefect project. So I'm going to click that object there and click create. And everything is already created for me. So you'll see that I have the project with some description, a few environment variables set. I have a Jupyter server and I have a Dask cluster. The Dask cluster is not required. It's a Dask cluster that allows me to do multi-machine cluster computing, but if I don't need it, I could easily just remove that. But the Jupyter server here then, if I hit start, it will spin up an EC2 instance according to the specifications of this, a large in this case. And when it's ready to run, I can just hit this Jupyter Lab button and I have a full-featured Jupyter Lab environment ready to go, ready for me to run any kind of code I want. I can add collaborators as members of my working team who are also users of Saturn Cloud. I can add GitHub repositories. If anywhere that I keep my code in GitHub, in whatever repository or whatever organization, I can just connect it directly here so that I'm not having to clone every time or manage things internally. You set your own credentials in secure credentials management inside Saturn Cloud. So that's all safe and secure and not being housed in, in text files or in bash profiles or things like that. You can create deployments jobs to go alongside your project. So if I create this project and then I want to create a deployment, say, always on model or an API, I can create that. Jobs are more of a regularly scheduled task. And so I could create one of those. And these, of course, as being a prefect job, contains libraries and code that you would need in order for prefect to run. So now, I'm not going to start it up right now, but see, as you can see, this project exists and is available for me anytime I want it. Other things that are kind of neat to look at are images, of course. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but what you have here are base images that have been created and vetted by Saturn Cloud engineers. And you can visit these and see that it's CPU supported. And you can create your own image. So if you create a new image, you can start it from a base image of a Saturn Cloud image, or you can just create your own from absolute scratch, or you can use an image you have already defined externally. As long as it has a URI from somewhere, you're all set. Credentials are managed here. We've just got some dummy credentials here for the purposes of showing, but you can create any environment variables you need. AWS credentials can be stored here in full security, confidence, knowing that they're being protected. You can use this for your Snowflake credentials or anything else you might need. Repositories that you have added to projects. For example, here I've added a repository for the workshop about Dask and PyTorch that I did a few months ago now. You can have that Git repository here and available so you can see which repositories you're on, which branches you're on, all of that, and where it belongs. And if you're looking to check and see that you've stopped all of your resources, you want to make sure you're not running EC2 instances that you didn't mean to be running. You have a single pages of all the resources. You can see all at once that they're all stopped. So you're never going to have to worry about unexpected cost. Speaking of unexpected costs, we have our transparent billing page, which shows you exactly how much usage you've incurred over the course of the time period. And we show you the different pricing models that we have available. The free pricing model gives you 10 hours of Jupyter every month, including GPUs for free, and 3 hours of Dask cluster computing parallelization per month, including GPUs, also for free, and lets you deploy dashboards. And then as you go up, Pro gives you unlimited use and almost all sorts of EC2 instances available, even the largest GPUs. And then Enterprise is there for business use cases where we get in use your AWS accounts so that the security that we've talked about earlier is fully encompassed. So now if you're in this workspace, you want to know how to do something else. You're confused about exactly what you're doing, where you're going, and that's very understandable. We have tons of documentation. So if you click on the link on the left, you'll get taken out to our documentation page, which includes an introduction that talks about most of the things that I just mentioned. You've got all kinds of instructions for how to get started with clusters, how to get started with Dask. We don't assume that you are already experts in all of this stuff. We have given materials specifically to make sure that this feels easy, comprehensible, and not intimidating. So we definitely encourage you to visit Saturn Cloud's website and click that documentation button if you want to learn more, if you want to get some more information before you get started, or after you get started for that matter. So that gives us a sense of the product, and I hope that you will give it a try. As I said, the free product is open to anybody. 10 free hours of compute every month, including GPUs. What is there to lose, right? But let's just sort of wrap things up in conclusion before we do a little Q&A. We really are excited about Saturn Cloud and AWS partnered together and the opportunities that this creates for data science individual users and teams, especially enterprise teams, because we've seen all of these sort of pain points and problems for data science practitioners, and we realize how much those can get in the way of the opportunities and productivity that's available. So we want to give you, access to your data, security, resources that you need, streamline, easy to collaborate workspaces, and that last mile deployment. And we hope that you'll give Saturn Cloud a try and see how this can work for you. And if you're interested, we have, of course, documentation on the website. But now let's take a chance at some Q&A. We've got the Q&A open. Let's see here. If we've got any good questions. If anyone has an extra question, let us know. We are recording this. It'll be available on YouTube for anybody who wants to watch later. If you want to share it with colleagues or anything like that, we would definitely be happy for that to be shared around. I'm not seeing any questions just yet. We do, John Michael actually posted a comment about looking to gain more knowledge about where you should be headed analytically, pursuing your master's in supply chain management. That's an interesting sort of question. I think that there's a ton of variability and flexibility in data science right now. There's a ton of potential paths you can take. My advice for students is always to try and get some experience with different kinds of data science projects, different kinds of machine learning, and find out what you really find enjoyable. Some people are really excited about, recommendation tasks, and some people are really excited about, deep learning. And there's a lot of potential things you can do in practice. We've got a question from Jakub. How will this help us students? Well, the free option in Saturn Cloud gives you access to GPUs for free. As a student, that's a really big deal, I think. I didn't have access to GPUs for free when I was studying. And so if you sign up for the free product, you get 10 hours of free compute every month, and you can try out all of these tools that we've been talking about. And so one of the nice things about this is that you get a chance to build some of those skills working with distributed computing, parallelization, GPUs, that you might not get a chance to do in class, or if you do, you might get a very limited experience. So I think it's a great opportunity for students to get on the product and try out the free option so that you can add some of those skills to your repertoire. So I think, let's see, I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing right now. We have about 8 minutes left. If anyone else has questions, please feel free to ask. Oh, Jeff has asked a question. Do you know if people are using Saturn Cloud for Kaggle competitions or other ML competitions? I am not sure. We have talked internally about wanting to actually do a Saturn Cloud Kaggle integration because I think it would be super cool to be able to access clusters of GPUs, because Kaggle provides free GPUs for users, but only one. And we could provide, you could get a lot bigger compute resources using Saturn Cloud with Kaggle together. We have not made any steps in that direction, but I personally think Kaggle is awesome, and I really would love for us to be able to help competitors to make advances in Kaggle competitions. But right now, we don't know of anybody doing it yet. But if you go out and use Saturn Cloud for Kaggle, please let us know, because we'd be thrilled. Any other questions before we call it a day? I will also throw this up on screen. We are very excited to be co-sponsors of the Dask Distributed Summit that's coming up at the end of May. This will be a conference specifically about Dask, so parallelization in the Python environment, which I think is super exciting and really takes Python into a new sort of whole space in terms of the potential of speed and production quality Python. So please feel free to check that out and visit our website to learn more about events that are coming up. Also join our Slack community. We have a community of users of Saturn Cloud on Slack. We are also as staff on the Saturn Cloud Slack there, so that you can ask us directly questions and we will answer them. We pay close attention and we're there. And then of course, follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter if you want. Dave, Stephanie. But aside from that, I think that is the amount of it. Any last questions before we go? I don't want to miss anybody, but I think that I don't think I'm seeing any others right now. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. This has been really fun. I hope you had a good time as well. And then we will really be looking forward to seeing what you do with the Saturn Cloud product and how you are able to advance your machine learning and your data science practice. Yeah, we'll talk to you again soon, hopefully. Bye, everybody.